I'm Atkins, welcome back to Global here on BBC World News. Now, Hasan Syed is a man who was pretty fed up with British Airways. They'd lost his father's bag and he wasn't happy with the airline's response. So he paid for this. It's a promoted tweet. It cost him $1,000, and when you pay Twitter that amount, Twitter puts this tweet into lots of our timelines, so plenty of us see it. Fast forward 10 hours, thousands of views, comments and retweets later, and BA responded. They said, sorry for the delay in responding. Our Twitter feed is open from 9 till 17 hours GMT. Now, coming from a company that was once styling itself as the world's favourite airline, that also got a reasonable working over online. We'll talk about what BA might have been able to do a little better with Simon Booth, who specialises in advising people on dealing with these kind of social media crisis management situations. First of all, though, let's speak to Hasan, the man who started all of this. He joins us live from Chicago. Hasan, tell me about the moment when you decided to go for a promoted tweet.
The moment came after a little bit of waiting to see if someone from BA would respond to just the regular tweets. I waited, I don't recall now, but I waited at least, I gave him a grace period of at least 15-30 minutes. But I never really, I wasn't really happy that no one responded. Usually I would have expected someone like BA that has a footprint all throughout the world, has flights running at every moment or every part of the day, that they would have had somebody on their customer service or the social media team kind of monitoring the account around the clock. But since that didn't happen, I felt maybe I need to create some sort of incentive for them to possibly get back to me and expedite the process, hopefully.
Well, incentive's one word. You certainly created something, because within hours, thousands of people were looking at this tweet. Did you imagine it would get so much attention?
No, not at all. I mean, I thought I started, honestly, I spent maybe $50 to $100 as a joke to see what would happen, and it went, the engagement rates were through the roof. I do a lot of work or spend a lot with Twitter on for my businesses, and I never see engagement rates like the ones that I saw. So when I started to see the engagement rates and the clicks on my tweets that just my initial complaint tweets, I thought maybe I could have a little bit more fun to it, until finally someone could respond from BA. But yeah, I mean, that went on for about 8 to 10 hours.
All right, well, before we speak to Simon, just to check, you did get the bag back, right?
Yes, he's gotten it back. So I relented and I called the dogs off. So I'm sorry about that.
You might have called the dogs off. The trouble with the internet, Simon, is that the person who starts something might say, OK, that's enough, but you've lost all control.
Absolutely, and lots of people are going to be able to relate to what happened here, and they'll jump on it and they'll share it. He says he got a lot of engagement, a lot of retweets and replies back from people. So yeah, people jump on it.
So what could a BA maybe done better to deal with this a little faster?
Well, it's interesting to hear that he gave them 15 to 30 minutes to deal with it. I mean, that wasn't very long at all. So were they monitoring? Were they listening out for what people were saying about them? It's crazy. It's that they're not there 24 hours. They're a 24-hour business. Why wasn't their customer service there 24 hours? And where were their PR people picking up that this was a reputational issue that they had to deal with?
Often now we'll see some companies using humour, and we'll show an example in a moment. That can also be difficult for corporations, can't it, to get the tone right? Because sometimes it can look like, you know, your dad trying to dance on the dance floor. You know, it's like, it can seem like a company's not comfortable in what it's doing.
Absolutely, and that's really hard for companies to do, because they're used to working in a top-down fashion. And often the people who are running the social media for them don't have that much autonomy to be able to use a joke and understand when to use a bit of humour. And the companies that do it well give it that autonomy so people can use that bit of humour. But you've got to be quick with it.
We'll talk with Hasan and you a little bit more in a moment, but let's just give you one example. Bodyform got a Facebook message from a man saying that their adverts, which showed women in the middle of their period doing skydiving and generally having a brilliant time. He sent them a message saying, you are misleading me here. When I started going out with my girlfriend, it turned out that once a month things weren't quite like that. Bodyform very quickly posted this response.
In the 1980s, we ran a series of focus groups to help us gauge the public's reaction to periods. The cramps, the mood swings, the insatiable hunger. And yes, Richard, the blood coursing from our uteri like a crimson landslide. So, we knew we'd have to change our strategy. And so, from that day to this, we have managed to maintain this illusion. But you, Richard, have torn down that veil and exposed this myth, thereby exposing every man to a reality we hoped they would never have to face. You did that, Richard. You. Well done. I just hope you can find it in your heart to forgive us. Oh, sorry, Richard. You did know that we do that too.
Very nicely done. I like the way they've got blue water that she's drinking from. But let me just ask Hasan, what could British Airways have done that would have made you happy? Was this just about getting the bag back, or did you want some sort of a tweet which seemed a little less automated than what you got?
Well, I mean, automated actually wouldn't have been terrible, but right, the ultimate goal was to get the luggage back. There are plenty of companies that employ the use of automated tweets to say, look, we received your complaint, we're entering it into a system. Really, they're going to need to work on this a little bit. They're going to probably need to create a database that's connected with their Twitter feed, as people can DM or private message or even tweet their claim number that the automated system can then just look after, and a script can go and then reply or then escalate the matter. There's all sorts of ways that they can look into automation that actually may not even be a bad idea, where they don't need to have an entire team of people staying up all night long, but they're going to probably need to look into at least somebody having to monitor the channel around the clock.
We should add at this point that, as well as you, Hasan and Simon, we did invite British Airways to take part in this discussion. They said they dealt with Hasan's particular concerns and that was where they'd leave it. I do think we have to have a bit of sympathy here, though, Simon, for big companies operating online, because even with the best plans that you or other consultants lay down, it's very easy to lose control because, frankly, people online are not particularly fair, are they? I mean, it's like a form of blood sport, isn't it? If people get their teeth into a company, whatever they do in response, sometimes it's not enough.
Right. If you're a big company, this is going to happen to you. It is going to happen to you, and it might not be fair. So you've got to prepare for it. And that's something we do at Claremont. We help people. We simulate a social media situation, and we're very unfair with them to show what can happen, and they sweat and.
So what is the advice? Imagine tomorrow, let's hope it doesn't happen, but Global has some pressing PR disaster on our hands and people online are talking about it. What is the best way for us to approach that situation?
I think you've got to get your response in quick, your first response. Don't leave a vacuum. Get the important people in the room together quickly, and who's got the keys as well? Who's actually got the keys to your Twitter account?
Right, because often it can be someone who's quite junior in the company.
I mean, HMV learned that to their cost. Get the wrong person there in charge, and actually it could get much, much worse for you.
And do companies want to do that? Are they ready to step into that arena? Or do you think that corporate cultures, particularly in the UK where you work, in the US, are taking a long while to adjust?
It's a mixed scene. So companies, I think, like O2 do a very good job. They obviously have people with autonomy and experience who are right there in the front line, and they operate with humour and they operate very quickly. They understand the rules.
To be fair, they've needed to with some of the problems they've had recently.
Right, they've learned their lessons.
And Hasan, before I let you go, what's your dad made of becoming a minor online celebrity overnight? Has he said thank you to you?
I think he has a little bit of an idea. He's not totally plugged in, so I don't think he understands the entire magnitude of everything that's happened. He's happy. He thanked me that I was able to get his luggage back in a timely fashion, or actually faster than we were expecting. We were expecting his baggage to be forwarded on to his next destination, or all sorts of kind of worst case scenarios, so that never ended up materializing.
All right,
so
well, they've been reunited, that's the main thing. Hasan, very good of you to come on and talk about it. Thank you very much indeed to you for coming.